Hello and welcome to my shop. So today we're going to take a look at a new computer. Well, new to me, that is. This is an IMSAI 8080, which is a computer that I've always wanted to own. And I found this computer was being sold by someone who was in Maryland. And that person was the one who originally purchased this new in 1976. And in fact, it came with the original manuals, and in that manual was the actual receipt from them ordering it in 1976 for $699. And that person has owned it all the way up until it was shipped to me. And so being a one owner, low mileage computer, it's in excellent physical condition. The paint is just spectacular, very few scratches, tiny bit of corrosion on the top here. The front panel is really clean. Switches are in excellent condition, almost new. Very little dirt or anything on them. And everything else in the case looks fantastic. You know, it's got the serial outputs on the back, of course, large power supply, and then the cards in here. And we will crack it open and take a look inside. But it is great to have one of these. No doubt you might remember this as one of the computers that was shown in the movie War Games. And it has had sort of a famous following since that movie, certainly. And there are some of them around, but not a lot of them come up for sale, particularly ones in really good condition with all of the original boards and still functioning. So let's take a look inside and see what it looks like. So let's take a look inside this IMSAI 8080. So we have the front panel display, the area for the cards, the power supply on this side. The power supply has a relatively large transformer and a set of very large capacitors. This has a main lower board that is a 22 slot S100 board, although only 19 of the slots actually have the edge connector soldered in. And the power supply itself provides 8 volt and then plus and minus 16 volt power to the main board. And then each card has on it its own power regulation to create local 5 volt, minus 5 volt, minus 12 volt, and whatever else it needs based off those power rails. And so let's take a look at the different cards that are in this unit. So of course the first card is the CPU card. And this is MPUA Rev 5, made in 1975, IMS Associates, so before they changed their name. So you can see it has the original white ceramic 8080 on it, 18 megahertz crystal, and then the clock generation circuitry, some buffers, and of course the power regulator. So it's a pretty simple card. This little ribbon cable here goes to the front display, and I believe it has on it the signals for things like run and stop that are controls for the microprocessor that aren't normally on the actual S100 bus itself. This machine also has 3 of these memory cards, so we'll pull one out. And so this is it's Cromemco, and there are 3 of these. They're all the same card, labeled 16KZ, so they're 16 kilobyte cards. These have the RAM here. These are 4 kilobit by 1, so there are 8 of them. So each one of these rows is 4 kilobytes of memory. So for a total of 16 kilobytes of memory. The little plus and minus power regulators, because these old dynamic RAMs needed plus and minus power. And then of course we have the selector here for where these appear in memory. And all 3 cards are configured to be contiguous starting at the very beginning of memory. And so this system has a total of 48K of memory for the 8080. There's also, this is a floppy disk controller card that came in it. This is a Macropolis card designed to work with a pair of Macropolis drives that also came with it. You'll notice there's no large IC where there's a floppy controller. All the floppy control logic is done with normal logic. And of course a power regulator there, and this is the connector for the floppy disk controller. So we'll have to give that a try. And then the second to last card we have here. I'll unplug these connectors. This is the serial I/O card. So we'll pull that up. And so this is a serial I/O card, two of the 8251s, the ceramic UARTs. It's configured with little jumper wires that go across these pins. And it mentions it's 600 baud for channel B and 300 baud for channel A. When it arrived, actually, this little jumper block here was actually in the case. It had fallen off. And there, of course, were two sockets that it could have gone into, but I pretty quickly determined the second socket is a spare socket because it has just 5 volt and ground to the normal 74 series location. And so this is a spare socket in case you need to add something to the board. So we will double check the configuration on this before we try to use it with a terminal. But in theory, it should allow us to be able to do serial communication. And one other last card that's in the very bottom here is a termination board. And so this does signal termination. It's an active signal termination so that you don't get signals that bounce off the very far edge of the board. And so this goes right past the last card in the system. And so we will try to get all this assembled here. The power supply, as I mentioned, it has the large transformer, these large caps. This appears to be an entirely original power supply with nothing done to it. The capacitors are, in fact, 1976, so I will likely remove those and replace those. They do tend to go bad and can cause some bad things to happen when they go bad. As I mentioned, this power supply outputs the 8 volt and then the plus or minus 16 volt on the main board. And if, for instance, the 8 volt line instead runs at 10 or 11 volts, in most cases the linear regulators will still work, but they'll get very, very hot very fast because of all the additional power they have to dissipate to generate 5 volts. So we'll do a little more thorough deep dive into the power supply to make sure it's all okay before we power the system up. And I'll power it up without the cards in first and do some thorough checking. But hopefully with the power supply sort of verified, maybe the capacitors replaced, we should be able to power the system up and connect up a terminal and also try to connect up the floppy drives. So it came with these two Micropolis floppy disk drives, 5 1/4, and of course the Micropolis controller card that goes with it, with a ribbon cable that goes over there. And these drives are hard sector drives, and so they require 5 1/4 inch floppies that are hard sectored, which I don't have any of. So I'm going to see if I can find some. It's possible to take a soft sectored floppy and make it hard sectored by punching 16 holes in where the index hole is in that area of the disk. And these drives in particular use a 16 hard sector 5 1/4 inch floppy. I think these are like 163K, I think. But anyway, so I'll see if I can find some hard sectored floppy disks that will work in these with that Micropolis controller. And then if I can find it, I'd like to get a set of 8 inch floppy drives, which were pretty commonly used with the IMSAI 8080. And so we'll see if we can find some of those so that we can maybe get something booted up and get an operating system started up.